Hi guys, and welcome to my probably final video tutorial series for a while. Anyway, I want to talk about a couple of things that can drastically improve your art but at the same time doesn't require as much effort from your side, meaning you don't have to do extensive studies or need any special skills for doing this. But before I talk about these, I would like to start with a couple of tricks that will help you to create better drawings. Also, the disclaimer again. These are mostly techniques that work for me and I use. Don't feel the need to use them, but they will probably help you to make better stuff as they helped me. Okay, back to the video. The first art quality check is putting things in black and white. And the reason for that is to check whether the contrast is right. On the screen you can see two pictures and try to decide which one is easier for you to kind of watch or navigate through. If you chose the left, then you're probably the majority of people. Now let's flip it to black and white. As you can see, the picture on the right has many similar values all mashed up together, while on the left there are many different values and the contrast is much better. So when you're painting, it's good to flip to black and white to see whether your contrast is good enough, and if not, fix it. Next one is especially helpful when you feel like something's wrong with your drawing but you don't know exactly what. I don't know the true magic behind this, but when you flip an image you kind of get a new perspective on it, and things like misplaced eyes or wrong limbs tend to show up, so do flip frequently. Then checking the silhouette. Again, two paintings. Which one is more clear to read? If you said left, you're correct, you win. And why? Well, let's put this in a silhouette. On the left you can still see the strawberry, you can still see the legs and the arms and the head. However, on the right one, the pumpkin gets completely lost and you just see a sitting bundle of something. So checking the silhouette can be also very helpful when you want to come up with poses that are really easily read. Next one is very simple, and it's zooming out. Sometimes you get caught up in details, but when you zoom out, the painting and the details kinda get lost. And it has a lot to do with contrast as well, so try to zoom out occasionally. Another reason why you should do this is because most of your artwork is seen in thumbnail view before it's opened. So having a thumbnail that works might actually bring more people to your works. And finally, and probably the most effective way to spot mistakes, is to get a friend. Getting an outside view on your artwork is very important because, after all, the main audience of your drawings are other people, not yourself. So get a friend, ask for their opinion, and accept their opinion. Don't get too defensive about it. And if you don't have friends, just message me and I'll be glad to give critiques if you want. Cool, so now you know what's wrong with your drawings. But don't worry, I'm gonna show you how to fix it. Somehow. Category 1. Zero skill required. So let's move to my Photoshop where I prepared a tiny 2 characters to sort of show the functionalities of my favorite filters and adjustment layers. So first one is a very simple one and it's levels, which basically changes the values of your colors and is very good if you have some troubles with contrast. And a similar one is called curves, which I recently started using and makes some very good color combinations if you overdo it, like this or this. Yeah, I kinda like this thing. Okay, the next ones are more to do with color. So the ultimate favorite and lifesaver is called selective color, and what it does is basically you pick the color you want to edit. So let's say I want to edit the science and want to make it lighter. So you can change the colors, but not all of them, but this specific color group. And you could say my signature move is to go to white and just lower them to become sort of gray and give them a different hue, like purple or green. It really depends on the drawing. I just slide through and see what works. So I guess this works. And another one I use excessively is vibrance, where you basically make it a bit more vibrant or less, depends on what you're looking for. And somehow when you lower the saturation and make the vibrance higher, the contrast is kinda different, and same goes if you do the opposite. So I do play a lot with this because it makes the color more alive or more interesting to look at. Another ones don't come from this little box, but from the layer blending options, and my favorite one at the moment is color burn. So I'm gonna make a new layer and I'm gonna set it to color burn. I'll give it some random color. Oof, that's awful. Like, let me just clip these layers so only the characters are affected, and if you hit Ctrl U, you get this hue and saturation slider, so you can change the color of the layer and also saturation and lightness. So I play with this slider until I'm somewhat satisfied with the result, and yeah, this is my usual process. It's just a lot of random and seeing what works and what does not. And okay, this doesn't work at all. Well, I use this for shading, not for the overall effect, so please excuse the ugliness. I'm just gonna turn it off. And another one that I use mostly for just some extra color or line arts when I'm doing colored line arts is Vivid Light. And again, I'm gonna fill the entire layer, Ctrl U, and play with it and see what looks good. I think the orange ones are pretty cool. Maybe the blue. I kinda like blue for the human, however the doggo is better, more green tint. And if I were to set the line art to Vivid Light and then color it some like brown. Woo! Also don't forget to lock the layer. It does have some cool colors. Not at the moment, I'm just using a random color. However, Ctrl U, again, find what works. Nothing really does with this painting. What is this? It's like it knows it's being watched, so it doesn't want to work. Okay, this is good enough. A bit of blues on the eyes. Guess it's too dark. So, these are the colors before the edits and filters, and this is after. So, let's move to this painting from the last tutorial. And when you're making paintings, there's a lot of blending and it could look a bit too blended sometimes. So I'll go to Filter, Sharpen and Sharpen to make the edges a bit sharp. It's not really visible, but it is there. So when I flip between it, you can kind of see the difference. And another one that I recently found out is to find edges And for that you need to make a new layer. So duplicate layer, okay, and go to filter, stylize, find edges, and it makes this really ugly edges, whatever, so edgy, and you set the layer to color burn and lower the opacity of the layer, and it has this really cool effect, like every color has its own line art sort of thing, or it's a bit more 3D, and I really like it. I don't use this for my line arts because you already have lines, you don't need any more, but for paintings it's very fun. Also, fun fact, I've been recording this 3 times and each time I got a little bit different results, so here are 3 variations of the same drawing using same filters. I just thought it would be interesting. Anyway, moving on to the category 2. A little bit effort is needed. These are things that make your drawings drastically better, but you need a bit of effort in here. And the first one was a life changer, and that was painting over textures. You basically get a stock photo and paint over it. And the result is really cool stylized texture, but at the same time nobody can tell that it was painted over, so it's a win-win situation. The second one is using perspective in your drawings. And perspective itself isn't really hard because it's mostly geometry, and if you're drawing, you probably should like geometry to some point, so I highly recommend using those guidelines to make your space look a bit more realistic. Also, use references. A lot of them. It's not a sin to use a reference for a pose or for a setting or anything. And I thought for a long time that an artist who uses references for something else than studies is not a true artist. Well, that's a lie. When you use a reference, 1. Your drawing will look better, and 2. You will also improve your anatomy without doing actual studies. Again, a win-win situation. And if you can't find any that would fit your drawing, just make your own. And the last and final art hack / tip doesn't come from me, but from a guy that I will link in the description, because I would just paraphrase a lot of what he says, so why not listen to the original, right? And he basically talks about cool habits to improve faster, so I do recommend watching it, and it helped me a lot to get in the right mindset / get the right habits, even though I still don't feel like I'm at the top of my game. But yeah, watch it if you can. So that's about all that I've learned through my 4 years of doing paintings, and hopefully you learned something yourself. And if you have some questions, comment down below and I'll try to answer as clearly as possible. If you want my future content in your subscription box, then maybe subscribe, no pressure, and see you in the next video, which honestly I have no idea what's gonna be. Goodbye!